What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Can't Afford a Therapist podcast. Unfortunately, we had some technical difficulties and we had to switch computers, so we couldn't do a live stream, but you know where to get us. It'll be on YouTube real quick. And today, my guest is Cody. Cody Hunter, also known as Bug from the band Bug Hunter. What's going on, Cody?
How's it going?
It's going pretty good. Like, I can't complain. I've been like, honestly, so I just want to get this out there. I want to be a little bit vulnerable. So the reason why I hit you up was I was very high at 3 o'clock in the morning listening to your music, and it made me cry. And I was like, I got to talk to this man. So one, I just want to say thank you for making such one, relatable music, right? And two, and everything that I've heard and read in the comments from just animated videos by people that aren't affiliated with you, that just went out of their way to make something to your music, and it affected them to such a way that they created art. It's just remarkable. And I'm like, I'm sitting here, I'm like, damn, I really relate to the Key to Being Lonely. Like, he's falling in love with all the girls on the train. I'm like, that's me every day. How does that feel
to have people
make
things off my music?
To make an impact, though.
It's I'll tell you, it's definitely remarkable. It has gone from, I picked up a guitar for the first time at about 22. I'm 30 now, so it's about 8 years. And so, I was kind of considered that was pretty late to just decide that I was going to start doing music. I mean, just imagine, go through high school, go through college, never sang, never wrote a song, never played an instrument. And now, I'm a full-time musician, songwriter somehow 8 years later.
Just so you know, just missing that high school, college part, it's not in bad, because you did miss out on being that guy, like on the quad with the guitar. So you're good. You didn't have that phase.
I didn't have my Wonderwall phase, is what you're saying.
Which, we've all had. So you're lucky.
Yeah. Fortunately, I don't even know how to play Wonderwall. I never learned how to play it. So, but yeah, it's so with that context, the fact that, I thought my life was going one way, and, all of a sudden my music has become the most important kind of purpose that I have, where, all the people who listen to it reach out, make things, make art. We have this Discord full of people who are so talented, and they'll go in and they'll be like, hey, I just doodled this, and it's this amazing fan art of one of my songs, and it's like, wow, that is amazing that you spent all that time inspired by my songs. So yeah, it's definitely up there in best feelings of my life, for sure.
It's because you're making people feel heard, which is just a cool thing. You said remarkable, and it's I don't even know how to describe it. That's what was the goal for this show. Well, the goal for this show was, I can't afford a therapist, so I'm going to put my problems onto strangers. So that my form of content creation. This is my art, humor and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. But I see people in these podcast groups that are like, yeah, I've been doing it for a couple of years. This is a message that someone sent me saying, oh, wow, this really helped me get through this phase, or this really helped me get through this phase. And I have those experiences as well, that art, music, or podcasting, and anything could really help you get through an extremely traumatic, emotional, good things too. Music can play as a soundtrack. There's certain songs I hear that bring me back. There's a Kali Bud song specifically called I forgot what it's called, but as soon as I hear it, it takes me back to my senior year of college, sitting at this shitty fucking table in our dining room with a hookah in the middle. And we're just sitting there, right? We're just in the morning having coffee. Everyone's upset because we got to go to class. It's just it just to have I don't know. That's the goal. And I really do like to talk to people. That's what I like to do. By the guests on this show, I aim for people that are happy in what they're doing, and making other people happy by what they do. And it's just a cool experience.
Yeah. Because I'm getting to that point now where the getting notice from people has like I said, I started playing guitar, 2014, and then it wasn't until like late 2017, early 2018 that people first heard a song that I put up called Dear McCracken. Before that, everything before that, two albums, nobody was listening.
Hey, but that one, you need that one pop, like,
yeah, you get that pop and people listen.
Opens
So
up the world, yeah.
So then there was that stage of like, people saying, "Oh, I love this," right? And this is what it means to me. This is how it makes me feel. But now I'm starting to get this. I have just graduated college, and this song was the soundtrack of like my freshman dorm experience, and that is now a new thing because enough time has passed where it's like, oh yeah, like some people listened to Bug Hunter, loved Bug Hunter, fell off the Bug Hunter train because you do. I mean, nobody listens to the same band for 70 years in a row, unless you're a middle-aged man listening to like the Eagles.
An enthusiast, you mean?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Tattoo.
There you go. It's very rare. It's very rare. You got to be a Sublime to get it. People, yeah. I mean, maybe it's been 2 years since I've listened to Bug Hunter, which for me is like, how could it have been 2 years since somebody listened, and loved it? But then they come back to it and they're like, I love this music, and like it totally brings me back, like you said, which is just kind of starting to happen, and that's also very fun.
So that you kind of like just describe me to a T, because I was looking at it. I for some reason I had like a distinct feeling that I had played your music on my college radio station. But I was looking at it and I was like, it came out after I graduated. I'm like, I'm not sure. Like, when did I find this music? Like, I wasn't even aware. Like, but I just have all these songs saved for like just years. I'm like, what heck? I don't know. It's but I do go through like these phases where like I have just come back to now like a softer, folky singer-songwriter kind of. Because I go through my most famous one I always talk about is 70s funk.
Okay.
I love 70s funk, and I'll go through like months of it, just going through just deep cuts. People are like, what are you listening to? I'm like, don't worry about it. And you just like a disco is going off in my head. I just walk down the street. But now I'm back, and it's just this type of music where it's just so, like, especially with like some of your songs too.
Yeah.
Like there's what's the name of it? Point to Prove.
Yeah.
Again, either being a chubby kid, like I'm still a chubby kid, man. Like it hit. Let's like a certain specific kind of like moment in life that I had. You had to like overcome because it's it's a weird, difficult thing.
Yeah,
it's not like the most hard thing in the world.
No,
but it's something that you got to go through, and it can make or break a person, and it definitely shapes who you are later on in life. Like I wouldn't be this funny if I wasn't chubby. Like I had to learn how to get girls somehow, right? I had to make them laugh. So it was a thing. Yeah. And like it's just the funny, like relating to that bit in the music was cool. You have a song coming out tomorrow, right? It's 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, and a ghost.
2 bed, 2 bath, and a ghost.
And so it's I'm assuming you just, from our last correspondence, you just bought a home.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And so with this song coming out, and is your house haunted? Am I going to see some orbs flying around?
I hope it's not.
Okay.
We had an inspection done, and I had to make sure that there was no ghosts. I called the Ghostbusters in and made sure.
We called those guys from Sci-Fi. We called a priest, a rabbi, and a mom. We called everything. We got all aspects covered. The house is clean. Yeah.
I was extra careful.
So I did a podcast a while ago with Zell from Alien Theorizing, and a question I brought up to him, right? So like just thinking about like being in a haunted house, he was an alien guy. You saw an orb in like the woods. Would you go up to it? And for you, like, if you heard some creaks and moans in this house, right? Like, what would you do? You burn the house down? You leaving? Or you like, all right, I got to figure out what's going on?
I'm definitely cautiously investigate kind of person, but I do run through the here's what it could be before I take an action, and that's the thing is like, this house, I'm much more aware of like all the things in it, right? It's like, years of renting where I was like, all right, yeah, there's a thing. It makes the air come on and it's hot. Now it's cold. And I touch the dial and if something breaks, I'm going to call somebody. Now I'm like, okay, this piece of machinery does this and it works like this. My dad, he knows everything about, everything. And
That's
so
what it sounds like. You're turning into a dad.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I got a ladder from Home Depot and I've just been carrying it around all week, just looking for things up high that I can fix.
Let me just paint this real quick.
Yeah.
Screw this in.
No, literally, it's like there's a ceiling fan in our master bedroom that has a remote. And the thing about the remote is if you turn off the light with the remote, but then you try to turn it on with the switch, nothing happens. It like remembers that it's supposed to be off. So you walk in the room, hit the light doesn't come on. You have to find the stupid remote in the dark, obviously. And I was like, I've got a ladder. My dad showed me how to install a ceiling fan. I can do this. So I go up there and I, take it all down and there's a little module. I take it out, rewire it and boom. And, obviously it makes my wife happy. And I felt like, yeah, I'm an adult now.
That's all it takes is just that one piece of equipment.
Yeah. Like it should have been a 20-minute thing and I made it take 3 hours because
Listen, you get distracted. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, I'm a rookie, but I'll get there.
It happens. So in college, I was kind of the same. I was like the handyman of the house because I had a hammer and a screwdriver. Just one, not like both screwdrivers. I just had a flathead.
Which? Okay, I was gonna ask which one it was.
Yeah. And I knew what kind it was. So people were like, "You have that one, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, don't worry."
The flathead is probably the more useful one of the two.
Well, especially in like, I used it to get into doors my friends would lock themselves out of. Like just stupid, simple stuff like that. Like we broke a couple front doors. You had to nail a couple pieces of wood in. Simple stuff. But because of the fact that you have one item of a tool, you are now the adult in everyone's eyes. I just think it's so funny that I got the ladder, so I just had to fix everything.
Yeah, that's exactly how it went.
So that seems like a lot, right? Like I still live at home. And I live in New York, so like buying a house, I'm gonna have to chop an arm and a leg off to even like get remotely close for a down payment. How do you like even like me just looking like to rent or even like imagining one day like I'll buy a house maybe up here or down there? How do you juggle that with being like a working musician and moving into a home? It seems like it's a lot.
It was, because I've been full time with Bug Hunter for just 4 months, and a good majority of it was dealing with the move. We got fortunately very lucky. One of our neighbors sold us his house, so I didn't have to do the bidding war or anything. Okay. So there was a bit of luck on our side too. Yeah. But it was definitely a task. It was something where I was like, well, you know what, I've got my own schedule now. I'm, working full-time music. I'm not touring at the moment, so I have time. So like, I've just kind of got this attitude now that, I'm 30 and, I've more and more have kind of just been like, I can learn how to do anything. If I want to learn how to do it, I can. I need the time, but like, if somebody can learn it, I can learn it. That's just my attitude. So that's like the mentality that I went in was like, I don't know anything about buying houses or, like I said, the thing that makes the air warm or cold. I don't know anything about it, but I'm going to learn. I'm going to figure it out.
And thermostat. I used to be I was poor.
I'm going to write that down. Can you repeat that? How do you spell that?
Do not ask me how to spell anything. I spelled like speech wrong the other day. I also learned that I can't. This is just another part of the show is just we go off on tangents. Recently, I learned that I can't identify animals too well. So I was like, I'm part of this like activist group. We're helping Amazon form get support for the union vote at one of the warehouses, right? And there's like a little pond outside. I go, oh my God, guys, look, ducks. Everybody turns around and one girl just looks at me and she goes, "You're an idiot." I go, "Why?" She goes, "Those are geese." And I was like, it's the same thing.
All right, to be fair, it's very similar. If it had been like a dog, that might have been.
That's how she made me feel though, right? Like, like I was just staring at a dog. I was like, but like it's the same color as a duck. Like it's brown
Yeah.
and green.
Yeah.
Like they just have longer necks. I didn't know. I'm like from New York. This is the most exotic thing I've ever seen in my
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
And
You
like
got pigeons. Yeah.
all these other people are from like all over the country, and they came to
Yeah.
New York. I'm like, you've seen things, right? I'm like, I haven't seen things. When I went to Albany, right, for
Hmm.
school, upstate New
Hmm.
York, I was like, what are these things? And all my
Hmm.
friends who live upstate, they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, these green things. I'm like, oh, those are trees. I'm like, oh. I'm like, we don't got those. I'm like, there's one in the city and it's in
Yeah.
glass.
I've moved around a bit, and it's very funny to kind of see the regional kind of awe at different animals. So uh when I grew up, it was if you saw a deer on the side of the road, stop the car. There's a deer, right? But my wife grew up in Pacific Northwest, and deer, raccoon come up to the backyard of their house like whatever. She
They're
would
not,
she yeah, wouldn't care about a
nope,
deer at
they're
all.
not looking for
But
that. That's why.
in
Pacific Northwest, they're looking for Bigfoot.
yeah, in Tennessee, they got turkeys, and my wife was just couldn't believe her eyes. It's like a real life turkey just out in the field, just you can just see it. So yeah, it's very interesting how there is the kind of like how normal certain animals will become in different regions, and I've been able to like kind of see what what inspires kind of that like stop the car and look reaction.
Well, I don't know. Just being in a city my entire life, it's just I
Hmm.
have pigeons, rats.
Yeah.
Um, I live by a freight line, so every once in a
Hmm.
while we'll get like a skunk that like hopped on the
Mm.
train, rode down, and
I
you'll
don't see a
smell
lot
it.
of skunk. Yeah.
But that's about it. But like when I don't know, I would probably blow like freak out, like what the fuck is that thing?
Yeah.
The turkey, like I would
Yeah.
like on the road, like isn't that dinner? Like what are we talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. It was fireflies when we moved to Richmond. My wife had never seen fireflies, and she was just like
That's
blown
another
away.
okay. That's another regional thing. Uh,
Hmm.
uh, so we call them lightning bugs up here.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
This is something off top again. Another off topic thing. It's not even have to do with music. This has to deal with like a regional something.
Hmm.
So I've gone through battles with a lot. I'm gonna look right into the direct link. I've gone through battles with friends of mine over a simple game: rock paper scissors.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's how you play it. Okay,
Is
so
there was there more than one way?
so yeah, apparently. So when I play it with my friends growing up, we'd go rock paper scissors says shoot.
What?
Yes. How do you do it?
It's just rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
That's
And
wrong.
you
See, and
what
I learned that that was a
who's
regional thing
saying
too.
who's say rock, paper, scissors says?
Yeah, that's how we
Like
played it always.
as if the rock, paper, and scissors are speaking.
Listen, we don't apply logic to it. It's just
Yeah,
something that we've done.
it grammatically makes no
It
sense.
doesn't.
It delays the game.
I think that's the point of it, though. It adds that extra, like it make everything fair. But like this is so we would you would be on my friend's side. It's kind of
Yeah,
like Civil War
absolutely.
Avengers,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
Captain America, Iron Man,
yeah,
two
yeah.
different teams. The funniest part of that, like I don't know why this I even remember this. The funniest part of that, there was about 18 of us in a room. Yeah, there's a lot
Playing
of
rock,
us.
paper, scissors. Yeah,
No, not playing rock paper scissors, yelling at each other about
yeah.
rock paper scissors. And my friend walks in, right, number 19, breaks
Mhm.
the tie. We're like, how do you play it? My man confidently just goes, we go 1, 2, 3, go. The entire room erupts. We
Well,
all
I was
turn.
yeah, I was sure you were going to say it's either you throw on scissors or you throw on shoot. That's the only argument I've ever heard. Like this is a brand new one. I'm 30 years old. Never heard that there's a third way that you can do this.
I've Googled it. It's people. So this is like, it's a thing, but it's,
Hmm.
again, I don't know if it's regional because the city kids all played it. The
Yeah,
upstate kids didn't say it. Right. And now
yeah,
we're down in Virginia, right?
yeah,
You don't say it. It's fascinating. Kind
yeah.
of like the animal thing.
Yeah, I lived in the Midwest and the South and the West Coast, so I can't speak for any East Coast isms at all. My accent, the things I say, the vocab for things, it's all a mix of kind of Ohio, Texas, California.
Yeah,
But
I can't really put a finger on it.
yeah,
I try to do pretty good with my accent. It
Hmm.
comes out pretty bad when I'm like, yeah, let me get a water or like a drink of coffee.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, you're from New York, aren't you? And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
And the worst part about that, we'll get back on track eventually. I promise. But the worst part was I knew I had a thick accent when I was living
Hmm.
in Washington D.C. and I was there with a class. So like my whole class is over hanging out in my apartment, and they sat me down on the couch and they sat the girl from Egypt down on the couch, and they're like, "Say these words," and I'm like, "Are you kidding?" I go, I go, I'm from the same state as all of you. I go, I'm like, this can't be like comparable.
That's funny.
um, all right, let's get back to you and the music and like what we're here for.
If you've ever tuned into one of my YouTube streams, I have to kind of talk to myself because I'm just, talking to a camera,
Yeah.
and it's quite a bit like this. I somehow find a way to get away from a topic when I'm the only person talking.
It's because it's like I don't really have a format. I don't really write too many. I don't write any questions down. I just kind of have like ideas for what I want to say. I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
like I like this music. I know pretty much enough of the lyrics to ask questions on specific things. Like,
Yeah.
and I follow him on social media. I'm like, I don't really need to write anything. I'm like, and it's
Yeah.
more me to have like an organic conversation like this.
Yeah.
Um, but I did want to like thankfully you did a great segue for me right there doing the live streams on YouTube.
Yeah.
Because that's what I wanted to bring up. Uh what brought you into that? Like was it COVID?
COVID. Yeah.
That's
I mean, I'm trying to think if I did any live streaming pre-COVID, and I really don't think so. I think we may have put like a camera up in the corner at one of our live shows once and like live streamed it to YouTube, but this was way back in the day when maybe like 4 people watched it. But yeah, it was COVID. It was, I had big plans to tour. I was still working full time at that time, so I was, it's like, all right, I'm gonna take my 3 weeks off, and I'm gonna go to the East Coast. I'm gonna play on the East Coast, and go up to New York, and we had shows in Boston, New York City, Toronto, gonna do the whole thing, and obviously that came crashing down. Spectacularly, as everything did in 2020. And then so it just turned to Instagram Live first, and then kind of did Instagram, Facebook, and then kind of just landed on YouTube because it was just the friendliest one for using a mic, having a camera, doing the whole thing. And that's where I had most of my subscribers because we kind of our two biggest platforms, Spotify and YouTube, basically because something goes viral on Reddit, that's YouTube.
Yep.
Spotify recommends things with Discover Weekly. That's its own kind of thing. So we just, we're so disproportional where I have like 3,000 Instagram followers, but 150,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. There's just like this big disparity between kind of like the different platforms. So I have to be very careful about where I choose to be.
Yeah, no, I had a discussion with this in my like one of my like groups that I'm in about like how we develop the social media. And I'm like, you got to start here on TikTok. You got to develop the audience there and then sucker them into this level. And then once they're at this level, I'm like, it's like a multi-level marketing scheme, but like once you got to get them down to that level. And then once you realize like those 3,000 that follow you on Instagram are probably like 3,000 diehards,
They are probably, they're probably the biggest fans. The biggest fans are, if I can get them to Discord. I love my Discord.
That's the next
I love
level.
my Discord because that's the thing is there's no algorithm with the Discord, right?
No.
I don't have to like, oh yeah, I got to post every day at 10 a.m. blah blah blah. Because I don't do that anyway. I've made several attempts to be like, I'm gonna like have a schedule and then it's gonna be perfect and I'm gonna have something every day, and then I fall off at like 5 days later because I get bored and do something else. But the Discord is literally just, I get in there, I can just talk to people, and it's the best. I get to like meet them and interact with them, and like now like I'm starting to tour again. They're like saying I'm coming to your show in Chicago, and I'm just excited to meet them because I've been hanging out with them online for the last 2 or 3 years. So
and that's why I think Discord's one of the most unique platforms right now, and it's underutilized too.
Yeah, Discord's the best. I was kind of just flippant about making it. I was like, oh yeah, it'd be kind of cool just to have it. It was literally like almost 3 years ago exactly that I kind of set it up for the first time, and for like a year and a half, it was pretty tame. It was just like I'd come in and say something, we'd chat for a minute, and two weeks would pass, no one would say anything. Now there's 1,000+ people in there. we're chatting every day about one thing or another.
And it's the interaction too that makes it that much more like unique as a platform too, because you're not really like interacting with too many people like on Twitter, or even like when you're streaming too. Like there'll be people in the chat. Of course, it's hard to keep up with it too. Like especially like a lot of these bigger streamers, you just see their thing just going.
Yeah. Like, fortunately, mine's not there yet. I will sometimes if there's too many messages at once, but like for the most part, I'm at that like sweet spot where I can read everything and respond to things. I do something called cozy Q&A, where I just kind of like strum a little guitar and just be like, ask me questions, and I'll go off on tangents and try and answer them, which I think people really appreciate. Being able to just kind of like, if 30-40 people are watching, they could really get a chance to like put their question in front of me if they really want to know something. So yeah, it's been very fun being able to do that. And just kind of get my message out there. It's nice when I can get on YouTube and play some songs and just let people know, like, hey, we have a new song coming out on Friday, where otherwise they may not have heard about it. So it's also good for that.
So speaking of, I also asked if you would like to play any music today on the show. Have we made the game time decision?
Yeah, I can play a song if that's what the people want.
People are demanding it.
Yeah.
You can take your time, get ready.
I just need to grab my
take your time.
Grab my guitar.
I will rant. Don't worry. So I actually just turned on the NFL draft currently to see what's going on, and nothing has happened, which is classic NFL. But whenever you're ready,
I'm all ready.
What do you mode.
What are you looking for? You got a request?
Well, whatever you're feeling. I just, if you've got something like you're feeling in your heart right now, if I got a request, I could play like, I can ask for Making Up Words. I can ask for I don't want to ask for the new song. I feel like that's,
can't play the new song.
As much as I want to ask for it.
It's gonna be up real soon. It might be. I've been checking every hour because I actually don't know when Spotify is gonna put it up, like with time zones and everything. I think if you're in the UK right now, I think it's probably up for folks. It's past midnight there, but
is that how that works?
I think so. I don't know. You think I know, but I know that there's some people in New Zealand that in the Discord, they said that it's not up yet and it's Friday morning for them. So, but yeah, I'm hoping that people get to experience the song, the recorded version first. So I'll, if you caught me 2 days later, maybe I would have played it, but first impressions.
Hey, it's always worth the ask, right?
Yeah. Why don't I do Making Up Words?
Awesome. Yeah, you got full screen, so
that's just a fun one to do. So yeah, this song, context for the song, wrote it. I had released an album under just the name Bug. So instead of doing Bug Hunter, I was just Bug, and did 11 songs, proud of them. They were good for a beginner. And then I rebranded. I was like, all right, I'm gonna be Bug Hunter, and this is gonna be first album for this band, and I'm going to totally kind of just mix up everything. And so this is kind of like my anthem of just like, here's the new style. Here's what I'm going with. I want to be heard. I want to kind of get my message out there. I'm kind of torn between these two worlds of wanting to be a musician maybe, but not really knowing if that's viable or something that I can actually be good at. And it came out like this. We'll slow down, we can talk it out. We'll backtrack, relax, and we'll track it down. How I carve out a taste for this, to hold a job and have a hobby as expensive as it is. My neighbors all complain about the noise I make. I pipe down, I haven't made a peep though, but I found my voice in this random noise. I sit back now and welcome to the Peep Show. I've been making up words at the top of my lungs, at the tip of my tongue. Ease up and leave me some. Yeah, I've been making up words, 'cause there aren't any more. Well, untwist from the sounds of it, I've missed half the point, but I got the gist. Now I know what my next step is. Find the perfect words if they exist. Is it words for love? Is it words for pain? And do I stop when they sound the same? Is it better that I pander to the people who will listen to a pivot going 80 just to prove I can be different? Oh, I've been making up words at the top of my lungs, at the tip of my tongue. Ease up and leave me some. Yeah, I've been making up words, cause there aren't any more. Well, refresh, give me time to rest, to recharge my search for a sound that's fresh. I don't mean to be so down or pessimistic, like an ivy on my skin. I can't resist the urge to itch it with a simple little hobby. All I do is stitch together clever words and title corporate mode designed to finally pitch it. I'm likely share, please like and subscribe, but all I want to do is leave us unrelated stuff behind. But at the same time, I want to reach 1 million people. I'm feeling like 1,000 out of reach if I don't keep up with the trending times. A brand new state, a new bandwagon with some new pain. Where's my new aim? Maybe I'm not trending up on Twitter. The only ones I'll reach will be my mom and baby sister. Maybe I'm not bound for money and fame, but my music wouldn't fit inside a stash or a hashtag. I've been making up words at the top of my lungs, at the tip of my tongue. Ease up and leave me some. Yeah, I've been making up words, cause there aren't any more. Top of my lungs, at the tip of my tongue. Ease up and leave me some. I plagiarize the chorus and the beating in my chest. I'll take my inspiration from the cadence of my breath. I'm searching for rhythm, the cracking of my knuckles. They ask me for a title, said I'm torn between a couple. I'm taking aim and aiming up at second nature off the cuff. I'm vaguely masquerading and I'm faking that I'm brave enough. Shaking up the achy stuff and waking all the neighbors up. They're raining up the wasted, so I'm saving up and making up words.
Dude, that was awesome.
Appreciate
That was
it.
so good. And it's just like, I really like that song too, because it's just the energy that it brings too.
Yeah.
It's just so fun. It's it really just like puts a smile. Like I was just grooving down. I was having a good time. It's just a fun one.
That never fails to just put me in a good mood.
Yeah, no, like I have a big ass smile on my face. It's just grooving.
That was a good pick.
So like that comes from like an album with a little bit more too. Like that's one of the less serious songs on that album, correct?
Yeah.
And that's I'm pretty sure that's how it opens too. Let me
Yeah.
just double check.
First,
So like to
first
open,
beat.
just to come out that strong on an album is like incredible. It's gonna be like you're like all right,
Yeah.
I gotta listen to this thing the whole way through.
Yeah.
Because it's so much energy and so fun and it brings you to this like point. I don't know. I don't know. I just love it.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, it's always been. It's funny because like I didn't know people liked that song for a very long time, because it was released pre-McCracken, so when it was up on Spotify, nobody's listening except my parents and friends, maybe, mostly me. And then once Dear McCracken got a little attention, some people kind of went back to Torn Between a Couple, and Key to Being Lonely was then kind of like our second most popular song at that time, and Making Up Words was our third, but I kind of just assumed that it was because it was the first track on the album. So if you start it, boom, it gets to play.
Yeah.
And then, most albums, it's kind of how it goes for the most part. You kind of, first song gets the most, second song, there's a funnel, right, where people kind of fall off. And then Key to Being Lonely's fifth and huge spike. People like that one. So I was kind of assumed that Making Up Words just kind of had like the first song kind of like effect to having those kind of higher numbers. But then once we started playing live, when we were writing the rough draft and getting that album out, people were actually like asking for it. I was like, oh, cool. Y'all like that song.
Want this. People like
that's great.
this.
Yeah.
So is there, I guess, like that kind of style and your little bit more serious style? Like how do you go into like writing those two different ways? Is it like the same kind of process?
Yeah, my writing process is the same regardless of whatever song I'm writing.
Really?
yeah, it's just more like, you know, I knew from the beginning that, you know, when you look around like the Seattle music scene, right? That's where I kind of came up in the open mics and playing, you know, 4 open mics a week, 5 open nights a week. You know, sometimes you find an artist is like, oh man, they got this like really, really great song. And then they have 8 more songs that sound so similar to that song, right? And I knew that if I was going to kind of have a chance at getting my music out there, I and also just for my own kind of just like stylistically, like what I like to listen to, I was going to have to make sure that because my range as a singer is basically nothing, my prowess as a guitarist basically nothing. Like I said, I've only been playing guitar for 8 years. I know the chords. I can't do much more else than play them. I knew that, you know, my trick is I'm going to have to fill kind of just a lot of niches, right? Like my strength is in songwriting and kind of conveying a story, whether it is I'm a, you know, a teenager living in the shadow of my older brother and feeling insecure about that, or I am on a plane and there's a lady next to me and she's writing an email, or Disco in the Panic Room. I'm very, very stressed about, you know, this deadline that I've set for myself, which is it's very self-referential of like, you know, releasing the rough draft after kickstarting it and like having people like actually going to be listening to my music the day it releases, that kind of thing. So, you know, I know that if you listen to my music, you know, you listen to Boogie Pete, that is not the same song as Take It Back. And I'm trying to imagine like a new fan getting on board and being like, all right, I love this Boogie Pete song. This is great. Let me click on the next one. It's going to be so funny. And then they get Listen to Your Mom and you're like, oh, dang, this is not what I was expecting. But I feel like people find something that they're looking for in our music, right? If they don't relate to Boogie Pete, well, then it's fine. Like, you don't got like Boogie Pete. We got
Got a
we got piano
catalog of
teacher.
stuff.
Yeah, we got piano teacher. We got Key to Being Lonely. We got, you know, Be Glad I Love You. You know, so my feelings definitely don't get hurt anymore. If people are like, oh, I don't like that song. It's like, cool. Here's another 30 that are different enough that you'll probably find something that you like. But yeah, I mean, it really is just like, I'll write about everything. There's really no like, there's no topics that are like off limit. I think it kind of speaks to, you know, me as a person. These are all things that I've lived through and done and experienced, and everybody else has too. Nobody lives in a world where they are just Boogie Pete all the time, right? So, you know, I think people appreciate that kind of ebb and flow and that dynamic of all these different viewpoints of.
That's what brings me back all the time,
Mhm.
because it's always you can there's always a song to hit the certain mood that you want to hit,
Mhm. Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's like, I don't know, like the lived experience too. Like there's a lot, like people don't live that unique of lives, I've realized, which is unfortunate. Like a lot of people do share the same kind of experiences growing up, and like
there's a lot of story beats that we all kind of tend to hit.
yeah, I think there's I was seeing something, there's like 38 plot arcs
Mm.
and stories, and I'm like, yeah, it's probably like that in
Yeah,
real life too. You know, people don't really,
yeah,
like, you can have a similar kind of experience, and even if
yeah,
you can get very specific like you do on some of your like your songs, and I'm like, oh, like
yeah.
people can relate to that as still at that
Absolutely, and
point.
that's been, I feel, probably the key to my success has been every song that I write is enormously specific, but I know, and the listener knows that like it's not really about this thing, right? It's, you all know kind of what this is,
Hmm.
and that kind of, you know, I generic's not the right word. I get a larger reach by being more specific because whatever, they didn't take piano lessons, but they took vocal lessons. They took art classes. They took whatever it is that's like they understand when I say, you know, piano teacher, here I am for class. I didn't do a single thing you asked. They know what that is.
Yeah,
Everybody has that.
yeah.
Everybody has procrastinated, not turned in an assignment. So that's been my strategy from the start is put it out there, be as specific as possible, and people will find themselves in my stories.
Yeah, and that's what it is. Like I was just gonna bring up like where it's you and your girlfriend or your wife now
Mm-hmm.
sitting in bed like and it's like 3 a.m. looking at the photo album. Like yeah, I'm that guy too. I'm up at 3 o'clock in the morning ruining my partner's sleep. Just like look at this, remember this. Like
Mm-hmm.
even though like yeah, it's a different experience. Like we've all had that like intimate moment with someone where we can like have that like connection. I'm like, oh, I remember that when I did this. Like, yeah, it's like a really cool thing. And like by being specific for you, it humanizes you more to a point. And then even in the Discord, it humanizes you more again because people can have this huge disconnection between just listening to your music and who you are as a person. But your music portrays who you are as a person, which is really, really fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely it lends itself to, people will often think that they know me by listening to my music. And in some ways they do. In some ways they don't, and that does kind of create like this weird thing where people will be like, they relate to me and they feel like they know me because they've listened to my music and they kind of know some of the experiences I've been through, but then I don't know them at all, but if they come up to me, I mean, you at the beginning of this podcast, you said, point to prove, that's me, right? I've learned something about you. We you didn't have to tell me a story. If you just tell me point to prove is me, I know you a little better. We create this common language, this shortcut, where we can kind of see each other quicker, which has been kind of a cool side effect to.
But then you go beyond that too by then writing a song like McCracken, where then you see it on the outside, someone else living through this like this shared life experience that everyone like I've written a text before a bit and then fucking deleted it, like
if you're not one person in that song, you're the other one, and you're probably both.
Yeah, and it's just like these human stories. Like my last episode that I put out was with one of my best friends. It's like it's his story of meeting like his biological father. And I'm like I wanted to get it told. I'm like if it was okay with him because it was just this human story, right? Like people go through this, right? And it's not talked about enough. And like just come out and say it. And like even with like that's what your music is. Like people are just you're telling your story, and it's just like a really, really cool thing.
Thanks.
We're hitting the 45-minute mark, which means I'm gonna ask you a question I ask everybody.
Okay.
Right, and this will be like the last like couple of 15 minutes of the show.
Okay, cool.
When you're writing music or when you're doing whatever you're doing, right, what gets you through? Like, are you listening to music? Are you watching TV, podcasts, movies? Like what's your intake?
So relative to if you can like put a pin at me at 22, I picked up a guitar for the first time. Like my intake pre that moment and then post that moment are like completely different. So high school, college, I was video games. I was Gears of War, Halo, BioShock, Mass Effect, the golden age of.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how old you are, but
I'm 26, so I'm like.
Okay, all right, you're right there. Yeah,
I was probably whipping your ass on those games.
Yeah, probably. I was never very good at them. Rock Band was the one that for me that probably, steered me into music. But once I started playing guitar, it just became like the kind of endorphins of like writing a song and finishing a song and like being like I hold the piece of paper and I'm like I finished this song, I can play this song, like you can't take this back from me, right? No. Like not like once I released 3 albums and another album under a different artist name and another song coming out tomorrow. It's like nothing can undo those, right? I have those for the rest of my life, and that feeling of like regardless of what happens next, Bug Hunter disappears off the face of the earth. No one listens to us anymore. I can be 65 years old and be like, I was a rock star when I was in my late 20s. No one can take that from me.
No,
that's set.
Yeah,
it's just a cool story. Like bare minimum, I have a very cool story.
Like you're sitting with your grandchildren, it's just like, what did you do when you were younger? But like, all right, buckle up, kids. Like, I got a story to tell you.
Here's a CD.
Like, this is me. I lived a good life, and like it's a cool thing. Like that's why I think too about this podcast. Like I do it to like have fun. I do it to like but it's also, one day, I want to have kids. Like,
Yeah.
what if they want to see me, like, and what I did, what I thought was
Yeah.
cool back in the day.
No.
Now they have the chance to go and see that, like,
Yeah.
how I spoke, like what my views of the world were, like, and it's
Yeah.
like all that kind of
It's
stuff.
neat. Yeah.
It's very,
Um,
it's very unique to this generation too, because
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's like home videos on steroids.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Eh,
I have about 25 minutes of maximum like video I can see of me as a baby and a toddler, and I have a nephew, and he's turning 3 in a week, and he's probably got a year of raw footage
Yeah, his
that
entire
he could
life.
go back on,
You
yeah,
can watch his entire
which
life.
is cool. I mean, I mean, it's more than you could ever go through, if you even if you wanted to, but
Yeah,
just the fact that you can see those
you
things
can.
so
Yeah.
crisp, yeah. But anyways, to answer your question about my intake, so I kind of just stopped at that point, and I really like fell off the face of the earth of like, I didn't watch TV. Obviously, I watched Game of Thrones because like I wasn't gonna go to Game of Thrones, but
Everybody
like,
watched Game of Thrones.
yeah,
Yeah.
everybody watched Game of Thrones. And we could go another 15 minutes about that, but uh,
Oh my God, I could do
just
episodes on Game of Thrones.
yeah, yeah. But it was really that it was just like, all right, fine, 10 weeks out of a year I'll watch Game of Thrones on a Sunday night. But besides that, it was, I mean, I went to work and I came home, and if it wasn't like a date with my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, it was like I was going to an open mic, I was writing. Like it was, if I didn't do it, it was never going to get done, right?
Yeah.
Like I had to use all of the time that I had to kind of pursue what I didn't know. Obviously, I didn't think it was going to be this. Like I remember many points, even in the early days where McCracken was kind of getting some attention. Never thought that it would get to like this level, where where we're at now.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to do it because I enjoyed it, and so yeah, a lot of the kind of media intake fell off for many years where I skipped a generation of game consoles. I don't know. I recently got into Rocket League, and that's probably not great for me.
Oh no, it's not. That's an
No,
addiction.
it's real bad. Yeah, it's real bad.
I just
But
re-downloaded it too. It's
yeah, it's something I play it with my bandmate Kyle. So
hell yeah.
I take it. We would probably never just call each other and just like chat on the phone for 3 hours, but we'll sure as hell get on Rocket League for 3 hours, and then we can just chat about things.
Bullshit.
That's
Yeah.
good to keep up.
That's
Um,
that's honestly how I keep up with a lot of my friends though. Is like we play
yeah,
Fortnite, which so we squad up in Fortnite and we just go and play for
yeah,
hours and like talk shit. Like, yeah,
yeah,
we're all like doing our own things now. We don't like hang out. We don't see each other as much, but
yeah,
like that time is like still fun. And I'm happy
yeah.
you brought up video games because like um video games have like influenced my music
Hmm.
by Rock Band especially.
Hmm.
The reason why I picked up guitar was also that
Hmm.
game. Well, not that because of that game. A friend of mine
Hmm.
was you play that game for 2 hours every day. Why don't you just play this instead? And I was like, okay.
I
And
mean,
yeah, and it was like all
basically,
downhill
yeah.
since.
Yeah, I mean, I was more I did the guitar, and then I switched to drums, and I was like I was real good at the Rock Band drums. I mean, like I was getting like high scores on the leaderboard and everything. I would
Hey,
play like 2 or 3 hours a day, and I'm looking over here because my Rock Band drum kit is set up. I haven't touched it in a year, but I always set it up every time I move to a new place. I'm like, I'm gonna play that, and I never
are you,
find the time. But
quick question. All right, are you
yeah.
playing Rocket League on PC?
I play on my on my handheld Switch.
Oh, on your Switch. Okay. All
Yeah.
right. If you have a PC that's like strong enough
Hmm.
for gaming, something called
Hmm.
Clone Hero.
I've
Heard?
heard about Clone Hero, but it's one of those things again where I'm like, I hear these things, I'm like, I'm very specifically not going to. Rocket League somehow got under my defenses, but I know about Clone Hero. I was like, I know that if I get into it,
My life would
like
be ruined.
you will take away a Bug Hunter album if you try and get me into Clone. Like it'll be your fault that like an entire album disappears from like the
Okay,
future.
never
Um,
download this game,
Yeah,
please.
like truly, like, and that's the thing is like I've tried to get into like Dungeons and Dragons, right? Where like my friends were all playing and my bandmates wanted to play, and we get like one session in, and then I'd start. It's like I'm recording this album, and it takes a lot. It takes a really long time, and I literally
Well,
have
so does
quit playing.
a D&D
Yeah,
session could take months. So like
yeah.
that's
So
understandable.
I have quit D&D twice. The first time was because we started recording the rough draft, and the second time was we started recording bigger than myself. And so like it really is like I have to choose between these things. Like now I might be able to do it because I'm full-time music rather than full-time work and full-time music.
Yeah.
So now I actually have a little bit more time, and that was kind of the goal, like to give myself some breathing room to do things like play Rocket League and not feel guilty about it and not lose.
You
Not
shouldn't feel
lose.
guilty about it though, because like at the end of the day, you are putting in the work though.
Yeah,
You
it's not
should take some time for
I
yourself.
think the guilt is the what will I feel if I had this moment where like, Buck Hunter is not we're not like a big band, right? We're very, very indie, It's like, okay, fine, 150,000 monthly listeners, like, you know, 10 years, that could be zero. I'm
Yeah.
not taking it for granted, right? And so if I get to this point where I'm like, all right, people are listening, as long as I just keep outputting good music that people like, I can keep growing, and
Yeah.
maybe it's I'll be able to play like at these venues with 200, 300 people, and it'd be amazing, and I can have these life experiences, or I can play Rocket League and blow it, and just like mess everything up and just like let that opportunity slip by. So the guilt for me is like, gosh, will I look back and be like, if I had just put down my Switch and written a song instead, would it have, made a difference and get me where I want to go? So it's a balance, no one can tell the future. We could, this new song coming out tomorrow, it could absolutely blow up, and we'll have 1 million monthly listeners by 2 weeks from now. You never know. It can happen.
Let's hope,
fast.
because that'll help my podcast too.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, man, he talked to this guy, and then all of a sudden his career took off.
It's like it's like the guy that dates the girl before she gets married. Every girlfriend gets married next. Like, that's gonna be my podcast. But come on, you'll go viral literally 24 hours later.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing about interacting with other artists, musicians, writers, animators, podcasters, is like we're all rooting for each other in like the biggest way. Like, I have friends who, like, I have a buddy who, like, he would come and talk to me and be like, oh man, you guys, all these Spotify listeners and everything, and then he's like trying to build up his music. He'd put a video out, to get like 1,000 views on it maybe, and like nothing was really happening for him, and now he's got 100,000 followers on TikTok, right? And like, there's no part of me that's like, oh man, he has that success, and so he took that away from me. I'm like, that's awesome, keep going, get 1 million followers on TikTok, and then let's write a song together, and like, let's all boost each other up. We all want each other to be successful, because it just for example, I know a comedian who literally in the same open mics as me in Seattle, we play like a living room open mics where like just like the people from the open mics would invite each other over to like each other's houses, and we just like do whatever. He was the only comedian there, and I just saw on his Instagram.
That's a brave man.
Yeah, and
he was funny, at the music open mic.
Yeah,
you have to be funny.
literally last week I see he's playing like a stadium in like Florida. It was like,
awesome.
Oh,
holy crap.
Awesome.
Yeah,
good for that guy. Yeah.
Yeah, that was something that I was like pleasantly surprised to learn about the industry, is because you always hear it's like, oh, it's so cutthroat, it's like people are backstabbing each other. It's not like,
I've seen none of that.
Yeah, exactly. People are just more than happy to work with you. Like, if they aren't full of themselves. I've had the instances where they're like, well, I've been blown off, but I'm like, yeah, like, and also it could not be a blow off. It could be like, they're legitimately busy, and like it could be something. So I don't even put it as that too. It's just, but like whenever I do work with somebody, it's always like, this is great. Like, whatever you're doing is great. Like, I listen to your stuff. I like this. Like, and people are always like willing to collaborate, even higher level. Like, I worked with one of the higher level podcast producers. He's like, I'd love to come on your show. I'm like, he's like, how many people you listen? I was like, I got like a good 50, 60, like hardcore podcast listeners. Like the YouTube's a little bit less. He goes, yeah, that sounds about right for like your level. He goes, no problem. We'll talk about it on the show and like kind of how you can get better. I was like, holy, like this guy. So I don't know if you're familiar with like Chapo Trap House. Chris Wade, their producer, came on the show, and like he's told me how to get better. And I'm like, like taking notes and stuff, because he's like a legitimate, like, well, that's what I do. I produce podcasts for a living. So he's a legitimate form of what I want to do. And he's validating my like craft, my art. And like, and it felt great at that point. Yeah. And it's just like a nice thing, because it's everything you hear about like the industry or like the entertainment industry or the content industry, people are like nasty. I'm like, nah, I haven't had that experience. It's also the people that I like reach out to is the people that I like already. So
you could probably find the toxic ones if
of course,
if
that's everywhere
for them. But you know, in my sphere, you know, I'm happy to collaborate, work with anybody. Just like 2 weeks ago, a 15-year-old girl from Washington D.C. writes for her high school paper and just wanted to do an article about me. And she comes on and she's like, "This is my first interview I've ever done," and I'm like, "That's awesome. I'm honored to be your first interview." And you know, she fumbled. She kind of forgot her questions sometimes, but like she did great. She did a great job. She asked thoughtful questions. She asked me a couple of questions I had never gotten before. And you know, I mean, her next one will be better, and the next one will be better, and the next one will be better, and she'll look back and be like, you know, my first interview was with, hopefully Grammy award-winning bug hunter. You know, you never know.
But like the set of balls on that girl, right? Like my first interview, she's gonna go after somebody that I guess she like really respects as an artist. And at 15, I wouldn't have fucking done that. Like, it's hard for me to DM people at 26. I'm like,
it wouldn't have occurred to me. Yeah, but I also, you know, grew up in an era where I didn't think that I could reach. You know, if I listened to a band, I would have no way of getting in touch with them, I think.
Yeah. Also, like podcasting had just started when I was like, 15, maybe 14.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really like the biggest thing. It's like I don't know. Like, seeing people grow up now and the like, because I have my sister's at that age too, like at 18 now, and just seeing like the experience that she had and I had, vastly different.
Yeah,
because of the technology like influence and stuff. It's so weird. But we're nearing an hour. Do you just give me a shout out on all your plugs, your Twitter, Instagram, YouTube
so
channel?
Many plugs.
Yeah.
Biggest plug is new song. By the time that anyone's listening to this, it might be up. I'm hoping that's the case. Not sure exactly when it's dropping, but odds are, if you're listening to this, new song's up. It's called Two Bath and a Ghost. Listen to it, share it with your friends. It's I don't even know how to describe it. It's, if you've listened to Bug Hunter at all, it's completely different, but from the people who've heard it, everyone's saying like top 5, top 3, maybe my favorite. You know, so it's somehow the people are. It's like it's the most different song I've probably ever put out there, but still very Bug Hunter. It'll fit right in. It'll feel like a comfortable hug if you're used to my music. So that's new and out. We're gonna have an animated music video for that on Saturday too, which I'm very excited about premiering. And then going on tour May and June. So gonna be in New York City June 7th.
Okay.
Yep. So haven't announced those dates yet, but I got them all.
Yeah, I was just like gonna say, I'm like, I only saw May dates.
Yeah, I got them up here. Yeah, I'm doing DC, New York City, Boston, Richmond, New Jersey, maybe Virginia Beach, but I just need to like firm up just
hell yeah, and you don't even have to take those 3 weeks off from work.
Exactly. It's just like awesome. That's just gonna be like Tuesday, Wednesday for me. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Great. Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else to plug?
No.
We're good.
That's it. You can plug 2 things. New song, going on tour. I'll cut it off there. Otherwise, it's just noise.
Okay, cool. And then if you like more of me, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and Twitch. Austin Can't Afford, and my Twitter is AustinPiazza. Most of my stuff is going on Instagram, my YouTube channel. Thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. And thank you so much, Cody, for coming on. This was great. I had a blast.
Yeah, I had a great time.
And thank you guys for listening. We'll be back with more soon.
I'm putting on my hours. I'm playing every night just to get a little better at guitar. I'm taking singing lessons at $80 a lesson. Who the hell am I impressing? And why do I work so hard? I've searched my soul, dug deep below to find the answer. I think the reason for it is I was an ugly kid with a handsome older brother. Yeah, I was a catch, like a cold or an ugly fish. I knew what to do, wear my talent like a mask and hope it magically distracts you. But I'm back, I've practiced my acts together, I got better, and